Hey, good morning. It's John with GPAC, and it's time for Coffee Talk with Sean and John. Waiting for a couple other participants here, but I want to get started this morning. Yesterday, we promised that we were going to talk about the painting contractors and what we're looking for as far as talent goes, but we're going to do a little bit of a switch here and talk about we're going to talk about a report I just received yesterday, and something that we've been talking about for quite some time here on Coffee Talk, kind of having to do with the talent shift that we're experiencing and that we're seeing inside of the recruiting industry as far as what candidates want. And the reality is the truth is that within our industry, it's shifted. Shifted in a big way. Shifted in a big way as far as it's shifted in a big way as far as what talent. The talent is the one are the ones that are the drivers in the seat right now. A lot of companies, especially in our industry, and we're finding it across industries, a lot of talent, a lot of the problem, that we're seeing right now is that that the talent is what is driving the search. In other words, the talent is not willing or wanting to leave for different reasons. Just give me a second here. I'm trying to invite the other folks that are going to participate in this conversation. So let's just get started. As I'm waiting, we've got some interesting stuff going on here. Okay, hold on. We've got our two participants here. Looks like I pressed the wrong button. Looks like I pressed the wrong button, boys. But here we are.
Guten Morgen.
And so we have here. We all have our cups of coffee. I'm John Chisholm. We also have Sean Bone joining us on a regular basis, and welcome Paul McFeeters from. Paul, why don't you tell all the folks where you're calling in from this morning?
I'm actually in Brazil right now, in a beautiful city called Caldas Novas. Just staying at a hotel. It's a natural hot spring spot, so yeah, it's fun. How's South Dakota compared to Brazil?
Well, we're not swimming, that's for sure. Not outside. So the topic today is I found a report yesterday, put out by LinkedIn. It's a study that they've been doing, and one of the constant things that we're talking about, Sean, is we're talking about talent and why talent seems to be sticking with their current companies, why they're not willing to make a change, or why they, on a positive side, why they're sticking with their companies. Something we've been talking about. So let me throw the statistics out here. Why people would make a change right now, what they're looking for. Number one, surprise, surprise. I want you to guess what it is.
I'm gonna guess flexibility.
Okay, you nailed it. Flexible work arrangements are the number one priority since COVID-19. Flexible work arrangements. So we've been talking about it constantly. We've been talking about kind of the hybrid model in construction is where we find ourselves. Our niche is specialty contracting, drywall, metal stud framing, commercial paint, commercial waterproofing, HVAC, electrical, etc., all around the country. And what we're hearing from the candidates a lot is not so much flexible work arrangements, but a lot of them want to have 100% work from home, but they're willing to get into this flexible work arrangements. And if COVID-19 taught us anything, it taught us that a lot of what construction companies do can be done from home, such as estimating, such as project management, and certainly with the Zoom calls and everything else, you can foster a teamwork environment even with people working from home. And we've proven it here at our own company at GPAC, where when COVID-19 struck, 100% of the workforce within a week went from the office into the home. And I would say probably about 70%, 75% of our workforce right now is working from remote locations. Paul, you're proof of that right now. You're in Brazil.
Yeah. Yeah, and it doesn't. If anything, I think it kind of helps. I'm actually 2 hours ahead of Eastern time, so it really helps me kind of get a head start on stuff. And then my West Coast clients are 5 hours behind me, so I can get all those prep tips, all those emails out before, so that when they get to their offices, the first thing in their inbox is everything from me.
Awesome. So Sean, what are you seeing as far as the candidates that you're talking to, as far as flexibility? Kind of what are they looking for specifically? I know we've talked about this before, but kind of like in your mind, what are they looking for specifically?
Well, I'll tell you what's in my mind, and I'll tell you that it aligns with what they're looking for. I mean, this is common sense, is that candidates want to spend more time with their family, more time going to their kids' baseball games or music lessons or whatever it is. So candidates are, and they don't want, like, if they want to take off early at 2:00 to catch their kid's soccer game at 4 or whatever the case is, they don't want to have to use vacation time to leave work a couple hours early. So really, if you think of yourself as a business owner, you think, hey, you like your flexibility you have. They kind of, in a way, they kind of want that same flexibility. And I get, why there's some restrictions with it, but candidates just want a better work-life balance. If they have if they have a long commute, if they have like an hour and a half, they have to drive to work, maybe let them get to the office at 6 a.m. and leave at 3. Or let them get to the office at 5 a.m. and get home at 2 or 3, or let them leave at 2 or 3 to beat the rush hour traffic. In a lot of the cases, candidates want to be able to work from home 2 days a week. A lot of the candidates that we work with are usually not looking for that on day one. It's maybe after 90 days, maybe after 4 or 5 months. They just want flexibility. They want to spend more time with their family. Because at the end of the day, nobody lays on their deathbed and says, man, I wish I would have worked more than 60 hours a week. I wish I would have worked more and spent less time with my family. What was I thinking? Nobody says that. So I think candidates, and COVID already kind of sparked this, but candidates are really starting to see some of the benefits of working from home, starting to see some of the benefits of the hybrid model. But yeah, I think candidates just want flexibility. And that goes to say with that report. I don't have to read a report to know that. I can just pick up my phone and make 3 phone calls and be able to identify that very quickly.
Well, and that's exactly right. But of course, the report just kind of puts numbers down and makes us think a little bit about what candidates are looking for. So, and that's the value that this Coffee Talk brings, is that we're trying to bring value to both candidates and companies to talk about this. Now, that you kind of bled into, Sean, a little bit more into the work-life balance, but really what candidates are looking for and what has been proven in COVID. I just spoke to a candidate yesterday for about an hour. And the key thing that she said was that she found out during COVID that she was able to get up in the morning, and instead of driving 40 minutes to an hour to work, she was able to walk down to her desk, get started right away, and she was a lot more efficient at getting work done. In fact, the company got about 2 hours more of work out of her and 2 hours more of production out of her every single day because she was not commuting. You think about the window time that a lot of these, for example, in our industries, you think about the window time that the estimators in your company are spending instead of doing takeoffs. How many more takeoffs could you do in 2 more hours a day? Maybe if it's a larger takeoff, how much more quickly could a takeoff be accomplished effectively by having interactions at home? And again, most of our candidates are not saying we'll never go into the office. Most of our candidates are not saying we don't want to interact within the office. What they are saying is that a hybrid model is very, very effective when there's in certain circumstances where jobs allow that to happen. And again, if COVID proved anything, especially with our company, 2020 was our biggest year as a company at GPAC. We made more placements, we made more income. Everybody won with that situation. Now, I've talked to many companies where that's the same exact situation, where they actually grew during COVID because they had that flexibility already kind of in place. So that's the call today. Now, I'm going to shoot it over to Paul real quick. Paul, what do you think the number 2, and I don't think that you looked at this report, but if you were to say the number 2 thing that the candidates are looking for, what do you think that they are looking for in terms of the number 2 priority since COVID-19?
I would guess if the first one is remote work, the second is going to be commute. How long does it take me to get to the office? If I have to work in the office, how long is it going to take me to get there and get back? That'd be my guess.
Well, that's a great guess, Paul. But I think that falls into the location there. So you're a little bit off. I'll give you one chance here, real quick, to get what the number 2 priority is with candidates.
Well, if work-life balance is too close, I'd say just how well you get along with your boss. At least, in my experience, that's been one thing that plays a role.
That's a great guess. It's actually colleagues and culture is actually number 3. So in other words, the kind of the culture at the workplace, the kind of the people that you're working with, that includes your boss for sure. So let's talk a little bit about that, Paul. I'll give you this shot. What are you hearing when it comes to what people are looking for culture-wise at the companies when they're looking to possibly leave their company? What's a negative thing maybe that they're seeing in their current culture? And what's a positive thing that would cause them to make a change?
Well, what I've been noticing, John, it's whenever I debrief someone after an interview, after a first or second interview, if it's a good interview, if the candidate is getting the warm and fuzzies, the first thing he says isn't, well, hey, I'm really glad that I may have the opportunity to work from home. The first thing they say to me is always, hey, I have a great relationship with this team. I feel like I got along really well with Smith or John or Turner, whoever it was. I feel like I've known him for 5 years, and that's always a good sign in my mind, is when they have a 20-minute conversation with one of our clients or anyone, and they say, yeah, I feel like I've known the guy for a long time. For them, that's something that really stands at the top. To get to your second question about the negative, is the exact opposite of that. When I ask them, hey, how does this compare with where you're already at? Oftentimes, if this person's serious about making a change, they'll say, hey, I've been working at the same place for 4, 5, maybe 10 years, and I'm starting to see now that my boss is actually kind of toxic. Like the first time I speak with these people before the interview, they'll say, oh yeah, I've got a good relationship with my boss. I think we get along. I'd call us friends. And then after actually speaking with a real leader, after actually being in the room with someone sitting across the table from someone who's a real leader, who knows how to motivate people, after that conversation is a world of difference. They say, you know what? I remember what I said a week ago, but I can't even call my current boss my friend anymore. I'm remembering now, and they start thinking back. Once they have that perspective and they see what a real leader's like, what a real motivator's like, then they start to think, am I in a toxic work environment? And sadly, a lot of the time the answer is yes, and they realize yeah, this isn't a good place I'm in. I shouldn't retire here. Maybe I could. I could be here another 10 years, but I shouldn't be for my sake, for my family's sake.
I like that. I like that, Paul. I think that that's great. Is that part of the value that recruiters bring is that we're able to arrange confidential conversations where you might not know what you don't know. That there could possibly be something better out there than what you have, and this is something Sean is pretty passionate about. Also, by the way, Paul, did you notice that Sean's quite a bit shorter than both of us? At least with the camera angle. It's kind of funny the way that he's sitting there. Hey, Sean, there you go. Tilt your laptop just a little bit more so that we can all kind of be on the same level here.
I think you're muted, Sean. Or at least I'm not. Maybe it's my hearing.
I can hear him loud and clear, but he's sitting in the next room. So, Sean, unmute your microphone so that you can talk. I want you to talk a little bit about what you're seeing as far as, I mean, you always say this, and again, I'm following you because you're such a, you've taught me everything that I know, but not everything that you know. When you talk about to potential candidates, it's hard to convince them that there could be something better than what they have right now, and just getting in a conversation. So, go ahead, Sean, if you can speak up to that. He can't. His mic is broke, so he's going to have to travel into this room and do the conversation here. But
while he's doing that, John, there's one thing I want to add on to what you were saying earlier about that extra 2 hours of productivity. I think for a lot of young people, one thing, an overlooked possibility. My last year of college, I graduated in 2020. My last year of college was all remote, and so I was forced to adapt to a remote learning environment. And I think that a remote learning environment can really help, because if you got guys that maybe they don't come in with the exact software requirements that you use. Maybe they don't know OST and QuickBid. Maybe they just come in with something more basic, or just Excel. Imagine what those extra 2 hours a day could do just for that learning. Imagine what if 2 hours a day were dedicated to learning new software and bringing on board new technological abilities. That's another advantage that young people already have, because if they went to college, they were forced to adapt to that. So I think that's another advantage to that extra 2 hours that you get there.
That's a great point, Paul. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and cut this off right here. I'm going to cut Sean's mic off. There we go. Now we're back. So, Sean, the question that I had for you, you're sitting right next to me here. The question that I had for you, Sean, was something that you're always talking about. Is you're talking about when you're talking to candidates, you're trying to convince them to have a conversation with you. You ask them what could be better than what they have right now, and sometimes they say, I don't know if anything could be better. But you always kind of pop in with something. So I'm going to go ahead and turn over here.
Yeah,
there we are.
Yeah, John, I feel like I'm a news anchor here now. Yeah, I mean, I've said this before. I think it's human nature to better ourselves in all aspects of life. So when I'm visiting with a candidate and they are relatively happy where they're at, maybe they don't have a reason to make a change, or that's what they think. They don't think they have a reason to make a change, but let's be honest, everyone has a reason to make a change. There's always something that could be better than what we have. So, I don't want to have to convince anybody to necessarily talk to me. What I do want to do is challenge them to think about one or two or three things that could be better than what they have. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So last but not least, and especially Sean's running out, he's got a phone call. Last but not least, there's one other thing that's talked about here, and it's something maybe I'm a little bit more confused about, but especially in the construction industry, and this is a huge, big thing in the construction industry, and that is and quote unquote inclusive workplace. Now, what's big in the construction industry is that I don't know what the numbers are. I have no clue, but construction seems to be I don't know. It seems to be an industry that is dominated by males. Paul, is that something that you observe as well?
Basically, what I can see, again, I'm distanced from people. I don't walk into the office and speak with them, but yeah, that's what I've been noticing. That's something I think that is very, very predominant in the industry, and it could be kind of intimidating to someone with regards to, hey, can I move up in this company? Can I excel here? And I think that's a question that everyone should ask themselves. But if you feel that you're in kind of a minority, definitely ask yourself that question. Am I capped out here? And does that have anything to do with my experience, or is there an added perspective, a lens through which someone's viewing me that is limiting my growth here? And I think that's something that everyone should be asking. I think it's something everyone should be questioning. And even, go ahead and be brave enough to check with your spouse, to check with your family, to check if you're bold enough, check with your colleagues at work and ask the tough questions if it needs to be asked. Am I being limited because of some external factor that does not actually relate to my performance and my ability to do takeoffs, to manage projects, to do the job that is required of me?
Yeah, unfortunately, in our world, and human beings, human nature, unfortunately, I say again, is that and we're two white men, cisgender, they might say. We're both Christians, etc. So we have a certain lens that we put on we have on the world. So sometimes we're not as sensitive to this, and certainly within companies, there are companies that are not sensitive to that kind of the kind of needs of being.
John, I have a call too. I'll be right back. Sorry about that.
Being more inclusive. Go ahead and mute yourself, Paul. So again, the biggest problem that you see in that area, again, if you're in a place on a negative side that you feel like your upward mobility is being limited due to the fact that you maybe did, English is a second language, for example, or maybe you're not, maybe you feel like due to your gender, or due to your religion, or due to your cultural background that you're being discriminated against at your current company, that you're not able to move up. That's another reason on the negative side to begin looking for something better than what you have right now. That would be a motivating factor. And for companies, that needs to be an awareness as far as keeping your good employees, as far as keeping a good culture there, is that you invite inclusiveness and that you invite conversations about inclusiveness. Conversations that the fact of the matter is that if you are blind to that reality, then that is part of the culture that can become very toxic and very negative to someone of a different cultural background, of a different gender. The one thing I hear about a lot in construction is with some of the women in construction that I've spoken to, is that they struggle a great deal because of the way that men talk. I think sometimes they call it mansplaining is one thing that they feel like, but they also feel like they might feel harassed, or they might feel looked down upon because of their gender. And if that's the case, again, there are many companies out there that don't have that type of culture, that don't encourage that type of culture as we're talking about it right now. So if you're a company listening to this right now, one of the things that you need to be made aware of is that since COVID-19, we've talked about culture, we've talked about inclusiveness, we've talked about hybrid work situations, and going in with that hybrid work situation. Another top reason that people look to make a change is because of work-life balance. Again, we're speaking with a candidate right now that's out in California, and right now this candidate's working in the construction industry due to staffing issues. This person is working for a company that is requiring him to work 60, 70, sometimes 80 hours a week, sometimes on weekends, and they're paying him the same salary. They're paying him the same benefits. So the Paul mentioned in a chat right now that the candidate that he just left the conversation for is a female who for 10 years has been working with the same company and has watched other counterparts rise up in the company, and she has zero upward mobility. She's at the same place as she's always been within the company. So these are all things that are considerations. And so as you're asking yourself as a business owner, how do I attract talent? Well, as we've been saying constantly, as we have been talking about on Coffee Talk here, day in, day out, month in, month out, as we've been talking about this, it's a huge factor is culture. How can you attract people in a positive way from one company that does the same thing that your company does to another company to your company? And the key is culture. The key is culture. And underneath that culture falls all of these things. All of these things are your company's culture. It's the why you do it rather than the how you do it. And this is the trending workforce reality, is that we need to develop within, especially the construction industry, we need to develop that high performing culture that attracts great talent to your company. It makes your company the company that people want to go to work for. It's that high performing culture. So the bottom line is that if you want to attract good talent and if you want to keep good talent, culture is the number one driver that keeps people working for you. And the benefit of a great culture is that when you have a great culture, not only are people attracted and they want to come to work for you, not only are people want to stay with you, but the people that are working with you right now currently become your best salespeople and become your very, very best advertisement, very, very best word of mouth advertisement. So in closing today, I think the most important thing that you can take away is that culture is the driver that allows your company to be successful. And where that starts is with the owner. Now, let me take off my GPAC hat here for just a moment. I do run a company. I'm going to throw my symbol up there right away. And basically, what I do with this company is I'm a consultant, coach, mindset mechanic. I'm a mindset mechanic. I do work with companies. I do work with individuals to help them kind of change their perspective and help them grow into their top potential, so that for companies, for people that are running companies, I help them find out their why and find out why they're running the company. And out of that why comes vision. Out of that why comes values. Out of that why comes mission. And out of those things come culture. It's not backwards. It's that you don't create a culture without working on the person who owns the business first. So that my theology about that, my belief about that is that you develop the owner first and foremost, and then you don't, and not the business. Not the business. You know, the business plan comes second. You have to develop the owner. And frankly, if you're an owner, You're sovereign in that business. Why not create a business that you are passionate about? Instead of creating a job, why not create a passion? Why not create a business that feeds your soul, that feeds your spirit on a day-to-day basis? And part of that is focusing on potential, not performance. You know, we all have KPIs that we look back at. We all have ROI that we look back at. We want to make sure that the company is making money. After all, we are in the business of making money. But those things should only feed our idea about where all those things do is where we, they notate where we are today. They don't talk about where we could be tomorrow, and that is potential. I help people focus on the cause. I help people focus on the cause that makes the effect that they're looking for. And finally, I help people, business owners and mid-level management, learn about having that value so solidly rooted inside of them that they're able to make decisions that are not based out of fear or based out of reaction, but based out of what they know to be where they want to be in the future. And they're able to make those decisions. They're able to bust through the terror barrier, jump out of their comfort zone, and make decisions that are ultimately going to make them successful according to their own definition. So if you want to talk to me about that, not about recruiting, not about hiring, that's all part of the same package. My name is John Chisholm, and I am the 180 coach. I'm the turnaround coach. So if you want your turnaround, if you want your best, then give me a call. My number is 605-251-1216. My email address is down there, 180coach.com. The number 180coach.com is my website. And 180coach@gmail.com is my email address. Reach out to me today if you want to talk. Hey, and thanks for being here with Coffee Talk with Sean and John and Paul. And hopefully this added value to you today. Have a great day. We'll talk later. Bye-bye.